So like my time in college was like the culmination of my spiritual journey, right? I started to see certain things. Like my major was biology, and with biology, like you have to study all of the sciences, right? So something about me studying the sciences at one time and me questioning life. I was still questioning life. I was still questioning, the whys of life. I was still into my spirituality, right? I was still having conversations with Christ, right? Constantly. It's not. It never faded. It didn't turn off. You know what I'm saying? It was like having a friend in your life. You just asking God, asking. Yeah, I was asking Christ, like, what is going on constantly, right? So I was always trying to make connections in life, right? So, but as I was studying science, I was realizing how there was a connection to it all, right? It was all the same thing, as above, so below. I was realizing that when I was studying atoms and even atom cells, whatever. When I was studying biology and all, I was realizing all the sciences fit together. You know what I'm saying? There was no reason to have the split subjects. You know what I'm saying? And that came to me all at once. Like I remember I was going to the library on Clark's campus to go and study, and all of a sudden it just came over me. I'm telling you, it was like a revelation. Like, and it all made sense. It was the patterns of the universe was making sense. You know what I'm saying? The patterns of what I was studying was all kind of made sense to me, and that was one way that it came together. But at the same time, I was questioning things. Like my brother was also there. He went to Morehouse, and I remember one time and he also lived in the house that I started living in. It was his friends. It was his friend's house. So I started living there. But he questioned, like, I remember one time he was in the car and he questioned, he was like, but how do you know? Like, how do you know that you know? But I'm busting my ass studying. Like, I'm like, what do you mean? How do I know that I know? Like, I'm studying this and this is what I'm studying. And it just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense to me to think further out. Like, what are you actually studying? You know what I'm saying? You're studying within the perception of people. You know what I'm saying? It's like an ant studying the universe. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just it how I was thinking did not make sense. It only made sense to the boxes that we created, of how we're supposed to think. And so that question frustrated me. I was that question frustrated me to my core. And I wanted answers. I thought he was like trying to hold some information from me or something, like, but I started exploring a little bit more. I started exploring outside the context of Christianity, right? I started exploring concepts of the universe, started reading a lot more. And I came across, different books and different lectures. And I was just deep in it and it started making sense to me. And that's when the like awakening started happening. I started waking up, right? Started waking up to different phenomena of existence, And two of the books that one of the books that stuck out that I've been studying for years is A Course in Miracles, right? And that was like early, like during that time in college, early on, maybe 2013, 2014. That's why I started studying A Course in Miracles. And it made sense. It was so hard to understand, right? Because it was so different from the life we were living. But it was like my home. That book was like my home, and still is. Like that's still my like main go to is A Course in Miracles. And just trying to understand life, right? During that time too, like I had a friend who told me that they liked me, right? And I still didn't have a good sense of my choice of decision in life, right? So I'm thinking that there's certain ways that things need to be done. So he tells me that he liked me since high school and everything. Like he had came out to for one summer. He came out one summer to Spelman. Just I mean, he did a program at Morehouse, but he was like, he came to tell me that how he felt about me, And this is my friend from high school. This is one of my, few friends from high school, and we talked a lot about spirituality. I mean, yeah, we talked a lot. We used to talk a lot about spirituality, but I didn't. I guess I didn't put two and two together that he liked me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like I was way off. You know what I'm saying? Because he was my friend. And honestly, when he liked me, I just went with it, and I was just like, okay, like, he told me his plans for the future, and I was like, okay. He asked me if, I wanted to be a part of those plans. Not, he wasn't proposing like marriage, but he was like proposing to be a part of his life, like in a relationship, right? And I said yes, but I couldn't keep it up, like, but I didn't know myself well enough to know why I couldn't keep it up. And it wasn't him in any way, like, he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything that was off-putting or anything like that. But as I was going through school, like, I developed these relationships with women, you know what I'm saying? Like one woman in particular, and she was like my first love. She was the first person I loved outside of my family, right? And she's like 10 years older than me. Like she was a friend, but I didn't know that I was in love with her. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know about that feeling. In high school, I didn't, I had boyfriends, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't anything, right? So, and it kind of, those relationships kind of irritated me. I used to do things because I thought I was supposed to do things, right? So when he asked me and I agreed, I kind of was I started, as he went back home, I started to avoid him, and I was thinking about this woman that I had formed a relationship with, and it wasn't a sexual relationship. It was just a deep friendship, that was loving. You know what I'm saying? It was also very toxic. It was also very, very toxic, but that was beside the point. I had feelings for her, and I couldn't stop thinking about her, but he would call sometimes, and I'm just like, there was nothing there for me to talk about. I couldn't do it. And then all of a sudden I was in bed one day and I'm like, it just clicked. It's like, you're gay. I'm gay. Like, and I'm gay. Like, and it just clicked to me. Right. And all the situations in my life where I was, I had feelings for the women in my life. Like, it was like all these different situations, all these scenarios, it kind of just clicked in my mind. So that's where I went with that. And it opened me up a lot more to my spiritual journey, right? Because the woman and I had a falling out at that time, and I was like totally depressed. I was like sick, you know what I'm saying? I was sick, and I had to tell my friend that came from home. I had to tell him that I can't do this, and I had to tell him why. So, and that was he tried to question me about it, and I didn't have no answers for him, so I kind of just left it at that. But so I started like telling the people that around me. I had a few of my brother's friends that lived with me at the time, like, and I started telling them, I just started telling different people what I realized, and I don't know why. I think that was just the culture of things, of just like, I don't know, you feel like you want to get it off your chest. I don't know why, like, but I made the mistake of telling my mother, you know what I'm saying? This was like, I think it was like when I was like 22 or something like that. I don't know, but I made the mistake of telling her, and she, it was with my family, and they pounced on me, literally, like physically, like, and told me I was selfish. I'm not gonna have no grandkids. Like, it was nasty. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got physically hit for it. Like, it just was a bad experience coming out, right? And I regretted that part of it. Like, I should have kept that shit to myself. It was no reason to do that, right? But all of these things led to me opening up about the idea of right and wrong, and looking at concepts that we hold so dear, and like, why do we hold it so dear? But what I realized, that type of reaction from my family was like, what I realized, like, I was like never living for myself. It was always about them. It was always about what I can, especially her, especially my mother. It was always about, she saw me as a part of her, right? Nobody saw me as an individual, right? It wasn't like, she didn't see me as an individual. She saw me as a part of her. So when I did things that went against what she did, it was punished, And as I got older, it started to become a problem, right? Once my brother went off to school, I was like around 17. It was a lot of fights, a lot of physical altercations, and it was just like over anything. And the thing about being an empath, right, and growing up with a narcissist is that you get to read energies easily. Like, you become really good at reading energy, and not just the energy of the abuser, right, but the energy of everybody, because you're always anticipating some sort of attack, out of nowhere. It could be out of nowhere. If I didn't read my mother's mind, right, if I didn't know what she was thinking or what she was coming next, if I couldn't anticipate her change her abrupt change in mood, then I'll be punished for it, and I'm punished in any way that she felt fit. Any way she felt to get out her emotions is how I was punished for it, But she was not at that. She was never my enemy, right? She and I were close. That's why it was so weird, because again, I'm thinking this is normal. I didn't question it until my 20s. You know what I'm saying? It was like mid or late 20s. Like, I didn't question these things, right? I'm thinking this is a normal relationship. I'm thinking all of it is normal. So you equate the abuse with love. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was equating abuse with, was love. So the situations that I got myself in subsequent from my subsequent relationships, I got myself in, whether they were situationships, they were situationships, a bunch of situationships, and not a whole bunch. It ain't nothing crazy, but the ones that I got into with different women were narcissists. You know what I'm saying? They were narcissistic relationships, because that was my definition of love. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really know anything outside of that to find love. I'm thinking, it's hard. It kind of hurts. You know what I'm saying? But somehow that made it deep. You know what I'm saying? Somehow that's what I deserved. You know what I'm saying? So that was a pattern of that I was going through in order to get through, in order to come to myself, right? So waking up to my spiritual journey, it was a matter of these cycles of abuse, and that was my test to wake me up. You know what I'm saying? I feel like now I feel like everybody has certain things that they go through in order to wake them up to themselves, and it's specific to their life. You know what I'm saying? Mine happened to be abusive relationships, and what I felt I deserved from people around me or from myself. You know, it was the way I treated myself and the way I allowed other people to treat me. Right? It wasn't until I woke up to the fact that I deserve better that I woke up to actually being conscious on my spiritual journey. And it didn't matter how much, I studied about life. I studied throughout my whole life. I knew about spiritual things throughout my whole life. But waking up to the self, waking up to spirit in the self comes with a realization of what you deserve, right? And that was my journey to come to that realization of what I deserve. My journey was going through abusive situations, abusive relationships, where being myself and being overly loving and overly giving of myself, not overly loving, because each and every one of them I love dearly, like dearly, but being overly giving of myself, right? And receiving nothing in return, or receiving little in return. And the little recognition, those, narcissists will breadcrumb you, right? And that little bit that you get back, you appreciate because you think that's what love is. You think that's all you deserve. You don't know that there's more that you deserve. You don't know, there's no understanding of balance until you understand it. You know what I'm saying? And understanding that balance comes with self-love, right? So the spiritual journey, waking up to the spiritual journey is waking up to that self-love, to what you feel is you're deserving of, what I felt I was deserving of. So after I came out to my family, I kind of, felt ashamed. So I got, I started working as a teacher. And I got in at my school. There was this guy, another teacher, and I got into a relationship with him, knowing I'm gay. You know what I'm saying? Knowing I'm gay, and I told him I'm gay. He knew, but it was just that I was going to, I wanted to be right. You know what I'm saying? I was still looking for that approval, so I jumped into a relationship with a man, knowing I was not into men, and he was a friend, and it's not like I couldn't stand him or anything like that. It's not like that at all. He was. We were okay together because of that friendship. The relationship itself didn't last too long, but we stayed in the same place. Like we lived together for, I think it was about a year. So, we kind of helped each other in that sense. And we're not together, but I was in the habit of denying myself, denying myself to fit into my mother's concept of what I was supposed to be, Because that's what I've been told all my life, to fit into her idea of what I was supposed to be. Who she wanted me to be consumed me, and I tried to be that, and it didn't matter how much I tried because it was never good enough. You know what I'm saying? Her thing was to get power over me, get control over me. So that's what she did. I wasn't even living with her at the time, and she got control of my finances. Right? I had to get a car to go to work, and I was around like 23, I think, and 23, 24, and I was and that's when I had to hurry up and learn how to drive and hurry up how to learn, and get a car. And she helped me get my car, but it was like $3,000, and I was making okay money. But she had this log of what I owed her, and I kept giving her money. Like I paid her back for it. She's like, you don't have to pay me back for the car, mind you. And it's not anything bad or anything like, okay, you're not getting me a car, I have to pay you back for the car. But since then, my brother has had 2 cars, right? Especially in Atlanta, he had a truck in Atlanta, and I didn't have anything in Atlanta. I'm walking on the bus and everything, and he lives right there. He goes to Morehouse, the school right next to mine, But he was set with the car in high school and in college. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't care about me. That was not a thing that crossed their mind. So I was out in Atlanta, on the bus, on the train. But it's okay because I learned so much. I learned so much about getting around. I learned so much about the city. I learned about freedom as well. So that was okay. But this $3,000 car, I paid her back in the first few paychecks, and she kept the log. Like she started putting a bunch of things that I needed, and she would just get them and be like, you owe me for that, and it was just random things, and I didn't even know, she kept this log, and I was like, I paid you back enough, you know what I'm saying? So, but she kept a lot of my money that I was making as a teacher was going to her. I would pay my rent off and stuff, and it would go straight to her, until the guy I was living with, my friend, my boyfriend at the time that I was living with, he was like, don't say no. And he was like, say you don't have it. And I was like, what? I was mind blown. Like, say I don't have it. Up until this point, this woman controlled everything in my life, right? To the point where she said I didn't deserve to she said my graduation day from college was her day as well. As if she was with me, like, busting her ass to get this shit done, But, she said she ruined my graduation day. Like, everything was hers. Everything belonged to her. I was her property, right? So to say no was something that was so bizarre to me. But that was like the first time I got it out, and I said no, like, and she kept pressing it. She kept pressing it, and then finally one day she said, I'll do you a favor, and I'm gonna drop this log that I have, the log of the money that you owe me. I'll drop it. Like, she's doing me a favor.